we are going to convene the HR Committee Meeting. So I am going to call the meeting to order and ask the Madam Secretary. Oh, okay. It's not like a power trip or anything. I'm just trying to get everyone's attention, that's all. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask Madam Secretary to call the roll, please.
Director Curry?
Present.
Director Robinson?
Present.
Director Sorrell?
Present.
Chair Garza?
Present.
And for the record, those directors also present. Director Story?
Okay, the next regular meeting of the Human Resources Committee is scheduled for Thursday, August 17th, 2023 at 12 p.m. Madam Secretary, has anyone registered to provide in-person or virtual oral testimony or submitted written testimony to be included into the record?
We did not receive any registrations to testify, nor did we receive any written testimony.
Okay, thank you. And now we will go to item 3 of the agenda and have a report from our Chief Human Resources Officer, Ms. Valerie Amos. I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Valerie Amos, Chief Human Resources Officer.
Sorry, I'm switching presentation slides. Or computer, I mean. Okay.
So on this slide, we are sharing some hiring statistics. These hiring statistics are from our fiscal year 23 year to date, December 1st through April 30th. At this moment, we have hired or filled 606 positions. Now, again, those are including external and internal transfers and promotions. But we are pleased to announce that we are 110 positions to the net good gain, because you will see on subsequent slides our separation. So in terms of the net gain, we are above water. We're excited about that. There were 80% offer acceptance ratios. So we have been tracking our number of declinations since last year, and so we have seen an uptick in the offer declinations, but because we are exceeding and accelerating our hiring efforts, we do see more declinations. Some of those declinations include personal reasons, shift change, some include salary as well, and often there's individuals who will go back to their organizations or stay at their organizations based on situations when their organizations are giving them counters. So we're excited to see the quarterly filled positions. You'll see the line graphs there. I won't go into details there. The external field velocity. So we've been tracking not only the total number, external and internal, but the external field. 362 of the 606 are external. Again, this time frame is from December 1st through April 30th. Our time to fill metric, we're at about 91 days, so that still exceeds the amount that we are targeting, which is 90. Of course, industry standards, we want to definitely strive towards that, but coming down from several hundreds of days, we are proud to say that we are really moving in the right direction. In terms of our external time to fill, that metric is still a little higher than we'd anticipate, 110, but again, we do provide opportunities for our candidates to think the offers over, return their responses back to us, and sometimes that often reflects in that time. The nursing time to fill metric is above where we'd like it to be. It's at 101. We are definitely driving towards half of that so that we can accelerate and attract more external team members. Next slide, please. So this is a depiction of the hiring activity that I just mentioned, but it's year over year. So in the dark green bar for FY 2023, that represents Q1, and the lighter green bar represents Q2. And as you can see, year over year, we are definitely accelerating our time to fill, as well as bringing on new recruits and our internal transfers. The bottom bar also depicts external and internal representations. The lighter green represents the internal transfers and promotions, and the darker green represents the externals. So this number is different, and why is it different? The 594, these are people who have started or who have transferred or been promoted into their position. So 594 of the 606 that was on the previous slide, they have moved into their position or have started with the organization. Next slide, please. This slide represents our turnover and separations. We are still trending in the positive in terms of our turnover. We're at a 4.4% year to date. Our general vacancies that was asked at one of the previous board members, we still have quite a number of vacancies. It's represented on the slide 2330. And we will definitely be driving that down with several tactics. But our separation numbers, I'm proud to say that we are trending downwards. So that's a positive. As we accelerate hiring and those separations are trending downward, we hope to have a larger net gain. Yes. Director Curry?
Yes, Ms. Amos, thank you for this information. Relative to the 2330 general vacancies, which is currently,
That's correct.
do you have a sense for how general vacancies, and I know there are a lot of component parts that move along with this, has the general vacancy, or what I refer to as the vacancy rate, declined over each of the last couple of years? And I know, again, there are different components, but what was the number approximately 2 years ago or last year in terms of general vacancies at this point in time?
So the general vacancy number was unfortunately just a little higher. And I'm saying that is because, you know, we have definitely, we've been striving to accelerate the hiring with our hiring fairs, having those offers, but our separations, as I've mentioned at previous board meetings, that's been quite substantial, month over month, quarter over quarter. So our general vacancies, although we have improved, it is not substantially changed year over year.
But all of the activities that your office department engaged in is moving us in the right direction.
It is. We started at a deficit. I kind of call it below ground, and now we've peaked at the ground level, and we have 110 net to the good. So we're peaking now. But we did definitely start at quite a bit of a deficit. So as soon as we see, again, those hiring numbers excel and the number of separations decrease, I think that we'll have a larger gap.
Thank you.
No problem, thank you.
And I think just to prove to expand what Val said, for a while it was getting worse. And so the number was expanding. And then we were able to stabilize it, and then now we're adding. So that's what she said in her beginning of remarks. She's very happy that we're 100 to the positive, means that we've actually stopped it getting worse and have now started actually taking numbers off
Hopefully I'm looking at the right mark. I'm trying to determine the success of all of these activities that you're engaged in with the fairs and the outside help that we have, that we're moving and closing that vacancy relative to where we were a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that we're not able to see it in the numbers because of all of the activity that goes on, but we hope to see a larger trend really soon, as Israel just mentioned.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Next slide. So separations are depicted on the slide in bar graphs as well. You'll see year over year, we are definitely decreasing the number of separations as depicted here. So that's a positive. In the purple bars, you'll see up top that represents quarter one. So quarter one was lower than year over year, FY 21 and 22. And then quarter two, as we've started, we're mid-quarter now, those numbers are also very favorable. So again, as I just mentioned, we're hopeful that some of those separations are lessened with all of our activities. Yes.
Thank you. As part of the separations process, are you asking or analyzing if any of those separations are related to any DEI issues that staff may have encountered, as well as those that may have declined offers of acceptance?
That's a really good question. We actually just updated our exit survey. So with some of the supports that Director Curry mentioned, one of those external vendors have assisted us. And I will hopefully bring some additional information to kind of showcase what we are seeing. Initially, we didn't ask that question specifically, but let me go back and look at our new question set and make certain that it covers that. But that's a really good question. Thank you.
Yeah, they actually noted, especially during COVID, there was an increase, loss of African-American providers and medical healthcare staff.
Okay.
So that they're actually, part of that additional disparity that happened through that.
Okay.
So one of the things that Human Resources had been recommended to look at were there DEI activities, environmental issues that may have been part of that to be able to address.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for offering. Director Robinson has a question?
I'm looking at the resignations.
Yes.
My question is, as far as the tenure of the individuals, how does that break down?
I can share a little bit more specifics, probably offline, if that's okay. I know that we have worked on our retirement analysis, and I did present some information, so we have been analyzing so that we can look around the corner at individuals who are in kind of what we're calling a tier 1 category and high risk for retirement. So I can present some additional information on those because we have been tracking. And we have a really nice kind of tool, internal tool for us to look at that.
Okay, and just to give you a little more insight on where my thought is, I'm thinking about earlier sessions we've had, and I think the sweet spot where it lies are those resignations falling within that particular tenure.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Sounds good. We can certainly bring some information to the board. Thank you.
And additionally, as part of the recruitment process, have you looked at some of the data that shows also that race concordance for patient and provider may actually increase some outcomes? So particular or specific targeting of recruitment toward minoritized groups, and maybe tracking that as well too could be of assistance in particularly so that the population of the hospital looks like the community.
Absolutely, and we have been looking at our demographics as well, and we are very rich in diversity here at the organization, so we're proud to say that. But no, I appreciate that comment. We will certainly take that into advisement. Thank you. Yes.
And those who are accepting the offers,
Yes.
do you see that there's any type of separation among those demographics? Do you find one particular group is saying yes more so than another?
Let me take a look at it because I can't just say right off of the top of my head. I can just, visually say at our job fairs, we have a very diverse group of candidates who are coming out. So we are reaching at least the communities and, but we can take a closer look and I can bring some information back. So.
And again, the thought behind it is we definitely want diversity and we have a lot of it, but our bigger need at the moment if we need people. So if we find one particular group that is saying yes more, then maybe we can double down there. If that's where people are willing to come and work, then that's what we need, of some good people who will work.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. I know we've been partnering with our colleges and universities and professional affiliations such as the National Association of Filipino Nurses, National Association of Black Nurses, and others. And so we've been intentional with our recruitment strategies and our partnerships in terms of identifying groups that can definitely advance our hiring initiatives. So we've been partnering with them. We've been definitely sharing our marketing materials and offering to, host on-site events or attend their professional association meetings so that we can showcase Cook County Health, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
And then lastly, IDHS has been taking comments if those that you're attempting to hire end up getting stymied in the onboarding process because of past, small crimes or petty crimes that they're not able to obtain the waiver process for, since the waiver process with IDHS is taking significant time on a health equity and equity in hiring perspective. It'll be helpful to make sure that we're noting any reports of those for staff that you could have employed, but you weren't able to get the clearance or waiver through IDHS to be able to bring them on board.
That's a good point. Thank you so much for that. We do have a process in place today where we review all of the, criminal backgrounds, and I have the pleasure of reviewing that, and we definitely look at our healthcare worker background check act as we attempt to onboard individuals, and we look at the years that the crime has occurred and if it's a misdemeanor or felony. But no, that's a great point. I appreciate that insight into the waiver process. So that's great. Awesome. Great. Thank you. Next slide. This slide depicts the turnover percentages as it relates to year over year. So as you can see, again, we're kind of neck and neck with FY21 in terms of the second quarter, but the first quarter we came out at a lower percentage. And we have the number of employees listed as well as the separations year over year as well. It is good to still note that although we are really advancing the hiring initiatives, our employee base did substantially change from FY21 through today. And so we are bringing in staff, we are promoting staff, and we are really working hard to advance things. However, we were at a deficit when we started back in 2021, if you look at the numbers year to date, from 21 to year to date. So there were over 6,000 employees at that time, and now we're at about 5,600. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, do we have a clue where that 400-something people, where did they go?
We see a lot of separations. I saw some retirements, and I don't know, specifically if they all just kind of left for other organizations. But again, I was starting at that time, so there's probably some good history there. We did see a lot of change during COVID as well. So we have some historic, actually on the next slide, just a depiction of our.
And that's where the question is coming from, because again, it's like 400-something people looking at the differential. And what if some of those folks decided to leave because it's COVID? Now that COVID is under control and we all now feel like I can go outside and breathe without fearing for my life, they may be willing to come back to work. Absolutely.
And some of our separations too, just to keep in mind, there were some grant roles. So if there's grant-funded positions and it's time for those positions to roll off, that may have attributed as well. But can come back with some more specifics. But this slide depicts kind of the pre-pandemic turnover. And so to your point, it was slightly less pre-pandemic. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned prior, we are intentional and proactively conducting job fairs. We've been hosting them monthly, and so we hosted 11 job fairs between the months of December and April. And so with the support of our HR team, the department leadership, Mr. Rocha, our employment plan officer, Kim Kraft, who's here, and her team, it's been a whirlwind of fun. So we continue to improve and advance. And as you can see, we have had over 800 attendees to show up, over 500 interviews, 200 plus offers, and 173 of those did accept the offers. Our job fairs now, as I mentioned before, we offer contingent offers on site. It is important to note that, again, all of the positions are posted internally for our CCH employees to have that opportunity opportunity to apply and be interviewed for positions before they are shared at the external job fair. So our goal is intentional. We definitely want to add to our employee base, so really looking for external folks as much as we can to place in these positions after they are interviewed. It's also noted at the bottom, and it's hard to probably read, in addition, there's nearly 100 individuals on a consolidated rank list, and that is simply individuals who have been interviewed at the job fairs, and we had more candidates than vacant positions for the roles that they were interested in. So we have issued them kind of an interim letter of intent to say you are on our list, and we will contact you when those positions become available and open and posted so that we can definitely bring them into those positions. So we have a great pipeline for several positions, and I'm excited about that as well. I see two hands.
I would just like to remark, as I look at the numbers, and the two that I'm focused on are the number of interviews that came out of the attendees and the offers accepted. That's over 30% of those. Now, in baseball, that's a pretty good average if you bat 300. So I know this is not baseball, but it's worth noting that, in my view, that is a very solid return on the investment that you've made. I just wanted that into the record.
Thank you.
I was also looking at those numbers. I looked at the offers versus interviews, and that's 40.5%, which is actually pretty good. So which made me which made me ask another question. If you're having that type of success and you're doing that in Cook County, do you have the capability to expand beyond that for the jobs and try to get people to move in?
Absolutely. We are intentional with our recruitment efforts. We've partnered with Cook Workforce and other programs, other employer workforce entities where we are physically going to those sites and we are actively, recruiting. So we are sharing our information, again, with so many different areas. We are happy to go wherever there's a need.
So the collar counties, you're going out, reaching out?
If there is a need there, I haven't been going too far because, again, we want to make sure that we're doing things right at home. And so it's taken us some time to get our kind of, I hate to use the word mojo, but to get our cadence to our job fairs because we still have quite a number of, compliance metrics that we have to maintain. And so we want to make certain that we do it right at home first and then take the show out on the road. So we have been going out. We haven't gone out too far, but we are not opposed to doing that. We definitely can do that.
My question is coming around, and I'm glad to know that there's still more for us to do within our county.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at time, which is always independent variable, and we can't change that. But what we can change is what we do with the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm extending
Absolutely.
it out to try to increase our productivity across time.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, and it's great that, this board and Mr. Rocha and so many other supporters have granted an allowance for us to have contracted staff, because that contracted staff, they're not only in the Chicagoland area, they're in different states, and they are working on our behalf as well to showcase a nationwide footprint through the usage of social media, our TikTok videos, our social assets, and it's been rewarding. So even though we're not physically present in some of those areas, we do have representatives on our behalf working to showcase and attract the staff that we're looking for in those areas.
Right, because I'm just reminded of when I lived in the DC area.
Mm-hmm.
You could have people driving 2 hours to get to work on a daily basis if they deemed that was the type of work that they wanted to do and the opportunity was there.
Mm-hmm.
And we are the third largest metropolitan area in the United States, so I think we have a whole lot to offer.
We do, absolutely. Thank you for that. Next slide, please. And again, here's just a depiction of our job fair activity. We are hosting job fairs on next week, May 23rd and 25th. Two of those job fairs on the 23rd represents the nursing team. So we are targeting new grads as well as some other, departments, some experience in new grads. So we are intentional. We know that folks are graduating, and we wanted to definitely capture that. In addition to that, we have our pharmacy team, as well as the police officer job fairs on next week. So that's just an example of what we are continuing to do. Next slide, please. So I know there were a number of questions. I won't go through the next set of slides, but Debbie, if you want to just run through for everyone else's view, just really quickly, this appendix does represent some of the great work that many of our contracted staff as well as our team have pulled together to really optimize the HR processes. I've talked to you about this before, so it's just in your slide deck as an appendix for your view. The next slide. Next. Okay, all right. Orientation processes, you just passed that one, proactive candidate sourcing. Next slide. So these are some of the ideas and changes and tools in our toolkit to really showcase CCH. We upgraded our CCH website, and we have a mobile-ready and friendly portal now for our candidates to come and apply for positions as well. Next slide. The outreach and marketing, as I just mentioned, we have been intentional with that, and we are reaching over 40,000 individuals on TikTok, and there's some good data analytics associated with some of our campaigns. Next slide. We have an advertisement package. This package also reaches other areas as well, so National Healthcare Career Network. We have footprints in other states as well as, so this is for physicians, nurses, many different disciplines. Our positions are on these websites as well. Next slide. And our vendors, I won't go through all of this, but as you know, we have several vendors who are here to assist us, and their portfolios are in your appendix for your reading pleasure. All of the accomplishments, all of the support, the impact that they have been providing to HR as well as our entire organization. So I'll conclude my report at this moment, and thank you.
Okay, I will say that as the chair of this committee, I've spent a lot of time talking with Valerie, and I know, I will say with confidence that this is an area that she's put a lot of attention in with her team to really bend the curve on trying to accelerate the hiring process to have these kinds of what I would consider successful outcomes. So I just want to tell you I appreciate that, Valerie.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you again. So we will go to item 4A, minutes of the Human Resources Committee meeting for February 16th. 2023, these were approved by the board at the February meeting. Seems like a long time ago, Dan. Like winter. Yeah, no, just a different season. But are being presented for the committee's review and discussion if necessary. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the February 16th, 2023 Human Resources Committee meeting minutes. So moved. Thank you, Bob. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. The committee is not expecting to go into closed session, but the motion is below. Something unexpectedly requires closed meeting discussion. If no closed session needed, I can ask for adjournment. Oh, okay. So if there's no session, closed session needed, I will adjourn the meeting early. Thank you for all the great work, and to my colleagues, directors, for making the time to be here in person. Thank you, Madam Secretary, keeping me straight.